The Big Four congressional leaders meeting with President Biden at the White House earlier today to discuss funding the government. Speaker Mike Johnson describing the meeting as honest and in good faith. But 4 days before a partial government shutdown looms, there's still no clear path to an agreement. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has the story.
Thanks for all being here. Look, I want to thank the leaders for being here today. We got a lot of work to do. We got to figure out how we're going to keep funding the government, which is an important problem, an important solution we need to find.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has a crucial decision to make in the coming days in order to avoid a government shutdown. The Speaker can look for support of House Democrats in order to approve the first 4 appropriation bills, or he could close ranks with House Republicans in order to hold out and achieve their policy objectives. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer emphasized Tuesday that Democrats do not want a government shutdown.
That we made it so clear that we can't have the shutdown because it hurts so many people in so many different ways, even for a short period of time, was very apparent in the room. And the Speaker did not reject that.
And Senate Republicans share their counterparts' frustration.
This is why I voted against the last CR. They've just been kicking this can down the road. I can't believe that they didn't get work done over the weekend. They've had months to do this stuff. I mean, my patience has run out.
Senator Rick Scott from Florida laid out a third option for the Speaker.
So the only way out of this is a CR through the end of the year and then start the budget process for next year.
There have been 6 government shutdowns since 1990. The last one was in December of 2018, and it lasted for 35 days. The impasse then was over funding for the border wall, a policy objectives Republicans had to abandon in order to get government funded. Congressman Byron Donalds, a House Freedom Caucus member, has expressed he will not vote for further government funding until the border is secure. Other members have demanded tighter constraints over food stamp beneficiaries and FBI and IRS spending. On Tuesday, Speaker Mike Johnson summarized his objectives to the president and congressional leadership at the White House.
Let me say this. When I showed up today, my purpose was to express what I believe is the obvious truth, and that is that we must take care of America's needs first.
Congress has until this Friday to approve the first 4 appropriation bills. The remaining 8 are due on March 8th. And if all fails, on April 30th, the Fiscal Responsibility Act would come into effect, cutting government spending 1% across the board. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
Amid concerns about President Biden's memory, House Republicans now using subpoena power to demand details about the special counsel's probe into the president. Biden again joking about his age, sparking new controversy. NTD's Iris Tao has more from the White House.
After complaining that the Justice Department was too slow in responding to an earlier request, House Republicans on Tuesday subpoenaed the transcript and any related recordings of Special Counsel Robert Hur's interview with President Biden last year. Republicans leading the impeachment inquiry into Biden say they want to find out first whether any classified documents that President Biden may have retained are actually related to the countries that his family was allegedly dealing business with. And also they say they want to see if the Justice Department was treating Biden and Trump even-handedly. In addition, Republicans say they want the American public to have access to the recordings that made Special Counsel Robert Hur to write in his report that President Biden had a, quote, poor memory. And President Biden on Monday again tried to push back against concerns about his age, saying this on NBC's Late Night with Seth Meyers.
Number one, you got to take a look at the other guy. He's about as old as I am, but he can't remember his wife's name.
Yeah.
Biden was referring to Trump's speech at CPAC last weekend when Trump said this.
I call up my wife, our great First Lady. She was a great friend. People love her. Yeah, people love her. Oh, look at that. Wow. Mercedes, that's pretty good.
But while Biden and the NBC host both noted,
Mercedes? And you can't remember your wife's name?
Trump was, in fact, apparently referring to CPAC host Mercedes Schlapp, who was sitting right in front of him.
And I want to thank Matt and Mercedes Schlapp, 2 great people, along with the entire staff.
As Republicans continue to demand more details about the special counsel's report, they are seeking to keep the question about President Biden's memory in the spotlight. In just 3 weeks, special counsel Robert Hur is set to testify before lawmakers. And as part of Republicans' impeachment inquiry into Biden, Hunter Biden will also testify in a closed-door deposition on this Wednesday. Reporting from the White House, Iris Howe, NTD News.
Americans from around the country reacting to the murder of Georgia student Laken Riley, the alleged killer, an illegal immigrant. Joining me now to discuss this tragic event is Congressman Buddy Carter of Georgia. Congressman Buddy Carter, thank you so much for joining.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Congressman, you posted on X that Joe Biden, Alejandro Mayorkas, and this negligent and damaging White House are directly responsible for the death of Laken Riley. The suspect in her murder is reportedly an illegal immigrant from Venezuela, Jose Antonio Ibarra, who was reportedly arrested for child endangerment in New York. Have you spoken with the Riley family, and do you think this tragedy will sensitize senators who will hold an impeachment trial of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas next week?
Well, first of all, I have exchanged texts with the father of Laken Riley, and as you can imagine, the family is very shaken by this. I can only imagine the grief that they feel at this point. Her father was quick to let me know that her mother has taken this especially hard. Evidently, she and her mother were very, very close, and our thoughts and prayers are with that family. But this is true. This should have never happened. This could have been avoided. Laken Riley did not deserve this, and certainly if this administration had done their job, then we would not be in this situation today, and Laken Riley would still be alive. And what a great person. Everything that we've learned about her, just an outstanding young lady who was studying to be a nurse to help people. But because of the policies of this administration and their ignoring the situation at the southern border, this animal was able to commit this violent act. And even after he had been arrested in New York City, but not detained and child endangerment, he was still released. And keep in mind now, New York City is a sanctuary city, as is Athens, Georgia. So this should give us an indication of just how bad this situation is. Every state, every city is a border state, is a border city. And yes, the Senate should take up the impeachment of Alejandro Mayorkas, because he has failed. He has failed the American people. He's failed in his position.
Congressman, it truly is a tragedy, and it makes it, I think, sting even more when you really, look at the policies at the border and think about if this could have been avoided. The Associated Press reported that the suspect in Laken Riley's murder was an Athens resident, not an illegal immigrant, and sort of framed the story around female runners. Politico's headline reported, quote, Republicans call for immigration crackdown after college student's death, end quote. CNN reporting the murder suspect was an undocumented Venezuelan migrant, and that there was a little evidence of a link between immigration and crime. What are your thoughts on the media's coverage of Riley's murder and the suspected killer?
Again, this should have never happened, but don't think it's just this one isolated incident. Yesterday, I was at an Exchange Club meeting in Savannah, Georgia. I had a father come up to me who told me that on Sunday afternoon, his daughter, 13 weeks pregnant, was rear-ended by an illegal immigrant who was drunk and had an open container in the car. And it totaled both cars. Thank God the girl is okay. But immediately after it happened, he was knocking on the windshield saying, no license, no police, no license. That's in Savannah. So this is an awful situation with Laken Riley, but it's not the only situation.
Congressman, I have to switch gears here a little bit and get your thoughts on the looming potential of a government shutdown at the end of the week. Pressure is on House Republicans, who currently have the majority. What needs to happen, in your opinion, to avoid a shutdown?
Well, obviously the Senate has got to negotiate, and we've got to get to a mutual understanding. I'm confident that we're going to be able to get the 4 bills done this week that have to be done by Friday. Next week's going to be more of a heavy lift and more of a challenge, but I am very confident from everything that I'm hearing. Progress has been made. There are a few holdups right now, but again, I'm very confident we can get this done. Look, no one wants to see, or I shouldn't say no one, but I don't want to see a government shut down, and a lot of people don't want to see that. However, that's not the worst thing that could happen. The worst thing that could happen would be for us to continue this reckless spending that has led to $34 trillion in debt in this country. That would be the worst thing that could happen.
Congressman Buddy Carter, as always, really appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.